Golden Knights goes back to 1959 when General Joseph Stilwell, he brought together about 15 paratroopers from different organizations, 101st, 82nd, 18th Airborne Corps, and they formed what was then called the Strategic Air Parachute Command. And it was at that time to compete with the Soviet Union in the new sport of skydiving. So it started
the new sport of skydiving
at that time in the late 50s.
I mean, there's a lot of folks who jumped into these fields who might argue with you that it was new in 1959.
So a lot of parachute technology was being developed at that time. There was still a lot of R&D going on, a lot of crossover technology between, just like there has been in medicine, between military and civilian. And so that's where it started for the Golden Knights. And they took on their moniker of the Golden Knights about 2 years later in 1961, named after the gold medals they had received and from Knights from Conquering the Skies. So that's where it began, again with 15 paratroopers, and we're about a 100-person organization today. About 50 of those are jumpers. So the mission has morphed through the years, but like you mentioned, the Marketing and Engagement Brigade, today our mission is really to connect America's people to her Army. Unless you have a family member that was a veteran or you grew up around a military installation, a lot of people are really disconnected from their services, besides what you may see in the movies. So that's really where we and our sister battalions come in, and performing in professional sporting events and air shows all over the country, and just interacting with the public and sharing the opportunities for service. So that's why we exist.
Talk about your careers. I mean, Sergeant Major, I mean, you've got huge responsibility here. I mean, not only logistically, right? I mean, there's a logistic piece of this thing. There's the personnel piece of this thing. There's the competition piece, and you can talk for a second about, you know, the different teams that live within the Golden Knights. But before you get to that, where were you before, and why come into the Golden Knights?
That's a great question. So I joined the Army right out of high school. I was 18 years old. You know, went special operations just to kick my career off. Jumped around there for about 12 years or so. Really enjoyed that, but I knew the Army had more to offer me. So I wanted to get out and see a little bit more of what was out there. Came to 82nd, and then from there got selected for Sergeant Major, and coming out of the academy, did an Sergeant Major job, and the Army was like, hey, you're the guy that's qualified to be the Sergeant Major for the Golden Knights. And I said, are you talking guy behind me? Because I mean, I don't think I'm quite that guy, but you know, brought me here. Extremely fortunate to have a commander like Colonel Moffit, extremely knowledgeable and experienced in reference to, you know, the sport of skydiving. He was on the military academy skydiving team, so very extensive background in the sport, and it allowed me to come in and understand and learn and grow at my own pace with the team. I didn't have to take it all in at one time, so to speak. I was able to learn at my own pace. But one of the biggest things I think coming in, I really had to check my ego at the door. As a Sergeant Major, as a senior enlisted member of the Army, you're expected to be the subject matter expert in everything in your organization. And I was coming into an organization where I was not that person. So that was a huge, huge growth step for me to do that. And again, Colonel Moffit helped facilitate that growth for me. I think if I had a different commander, I think I probably would not have been as successful as I have been while I'm here, but I'm extremely fortunate for him. And then to hit your point about the team, so yeah, we're comprised of what we consider 6 sections. We have 2 demonstration teams that do the things that Colonel Moffit talked about, jumped into sporting events, do air shows across the country, really connect America's people to our Army. And then we have a competition section, both in 4-way formation skydiving and canopy piloting. So they have 2 separate missions. Our canopy piloting competes in 3 events: speed, zone accuracy, and distance. And they participate, you know, across the country as well. And then we have our tandem team, which is a huge, probably one of probably our second biggest workhorse, I'd say, behind the demo teams, who really get out and interact with those centers of influence across the country. Really your educators, your administrators, who really get the message out there to say that the Army is the service of choice, and show them what you really can and can't do. And then, of course, we would not be able to do anything if it was not for our aviation section, you know, toting us all over the country, flying us here, flying us there, just turning loops out at Laurenburg Drop Zone. I think I was out there jumping on Thursday last week, and we did 20 lifts in half a day.
In an afternoon,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it was just incredible. And they put in so much hard work to make sure that, we're on target, on time, and ready to go whenever we call them. Phenomenal organization. I tell them every day, they never cease to amaze me with their level of professionalism and proficiency in what they do, and just incredible individuals.
Yeah, wow. We think about the soft truths, and soft truth number 5, that support element,
Yeah.
lives there, right? And it's cool to see the guys jumping out, right, and parachuting down, but the amount of work that goes in to make it over that drop zone and push somebody out,
Yeah, absolutely.
is the unsung heroes,
Yeah.
of the whole organization. And you don't come from a bad background yourself.
Not too bad. No, I can't complain. Started out enlisted, worked in an electronics maintenance battalion on Fort Bragg, my first duty station in the late 90s. Was an airborne radio repairman, and had interest in going out and doing challenging things, and had a packet into SF at the time, and I was trying to figure out what path I wanted to go, and I had a family member recommend, have you considered going to West Point? And I said, absolutely not. I could not cut it at a place like that, nor would I probably even fit in. And but it got, the seed was planted, and I started thinking about it. So anyway, ended up putting in a packet, went to the prep school at Fort Monmouth, New Jersey at that time. Met my wife, who is also a prepster, and that's where I got into skydiving, like Sergeant Major mentioned, on the West Point parachute team. So that's where that got started. Doing style and accuracy back then, which was really popular in the skydiving community, and which is funny looking at pictures on the walls at the Golden Knight headquarters today. Nobody does style anymore. Actually, it's more popular here in Europe than it is in the States.
And what's style?
So style,
because I was a static line guy on a mountain, on a mountain team. So I'm good. I don't go underwater, and I don't go that high up.
Static
So
line is
unless I got 3 points of contact.
So this was the pre-GoPro era, of course. And so to judge style, you had one of these telescopic lenses from the ground. It was about 6 feet long, and they'd point it up at the sky. You would get out of this airplane.
Excited over here, by the way.
And he would have loved it. And so you wore this spandex suit, of any color of the rainbow. You'd get out, you'd get in this tiny little tuck position. You got your knees all the way up to your chin, your arms out like little wings, and you got to do left turn, right turn, back loop, right turn, left turn, back loop, as many times as you can until you run out of time or altitude. And then you get down to the bottom, they would judge you. So that's how I started out in skydiving. And just trying to hit the tuffet every day. They have a little 16-centimeter electronic pad on this inflatable air tuffet, and you'd have to land on that and get scored. We'd have files. We'd file down the heels of our shoes to try to have that pinpoint landing. So most of that stuff is gone from the sport today. Although, like I said, you still do see it in Europe. And then spent some time in the infantry. Started out up in Fort Lewis, and then later went to SF. Grew up in 7th Group, and then had the opportunity when the command list came out. The Golden Knights was one of the options to compete for, and I had been away from the sport for a long time, and it was just very attractive just to get to work in an organization with such high performing, high motivated people, small, highly skilled teams. It was like it was like being in SF again. So really fortunate to work in such a unit with cohesion and camaraderie as the Golden Knights, as much history as they do behind them. So really enjoyed it.